on 105.7 ABC Darwin, 783 ABC Alice Springs from the jerry cans. That is Namalim Maximavunga. I think I may have nailed it.
You totally nailed it. You definitely nailed it.
Andrew Morrison and Nancy Mike from the jerry cans. They're just arrived in Darwin from a performance in Womadelaide, but originally hailing from the Arctic region of Canada. My goodness, what a world away you have travelled from to be here, and what a piece of music that sounds vaguely familiar, but, challenging to get the tongue around. Tell us about Namaling... Oh, now I see. Yay. First time around I was going to have it. Namaling Maximavunga.
You still are doing amazing. That's like level 7 Inuktitut.
What language am I speaking?
It's Inuktitut. That's the language. The indigenous language of where we're from. Way up north in the cold, miles away from the Darwin temperature we're experiencing today.
And why do I recognise that song?
It's actually the Inuktitut version of I've Been Everywhere, Man, which we coincidentally found out is an Australian song. We didn't know that until we came here. So when we found this out, we were very, very happy to... It immediately became a crowd pleaser. It was great.
And so how did you know this song to transcribe it into your Inuktitut language?
To be honest, I don't even really know how. It's just kind of one of those songs that's everywhere. And what we did was just, instead of... we named all the communities in our territory, and so it became quite a well-received song up north and where we're from. And people were very happy to hear about their town, which was probably 300, 500 people, small towns, being sang about on national radio in Canada. So we would get messages from people in these towns so excited to hear their little town being kind of spoken, heard all over the country.
Which is exactly the same reaction that I think radio audiences in Australia have to that song when it's sung in English, so I can understand why that would happen. Yeah. What's the name of the town that you're from in the Arctic region of Canada, so far away from us here in the Northern Territory?
We live in the city of Iqaluit in the Nunavut Territory, which is northern Canada, of course.
I had a practice of the name of your town before, but we need to all learn together. What's the name of it?
Iqaluit.
Iqaluit.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah.
and can you take us to this part of the world? Where in Canada is it? What size town is it? Who lives there? What's the economy? What's the landscape?
Right now it's probably minus 35. It's probably sunny and beautiful and white.
Is it always white? It's always snow and ice?
In the summer we get
about 2 months of summer with no ice, and then about 8 months of snow and ice, and then 2 months on either side of transition time, kind of.
And there's no trees there. I guess.
We also have, it's wintertime right now, we're just coming out of wintertime, so the sun's just coming back. In the depths of winter, we have about 2 hours of daylight, and then in summertime, the sun kind of just goes around the sky, and it's 24-hour light. It's beautiful, because people kind of react to that, and they say, oh my God, how do you do it? But every single night, there's northern lights. If it's clear, there's very strong, beautiful aurora borealis, northern lights. And in the cold winter months, we kind of did a lot of music, and that's what we did to kind of come together and hang out with your friends, and the community gets together for dances, and there's lots of great community spirit in those months. And then summertime, it's just you can live on 3 or 4 hours of sleep and just keep going. And so it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place.
And how many people live in Iqaluit?
There's about 7,000 people. Yeah.
So it's a small community. And what do people do there? Is it an agricultural?
No, you can't grow anything there.
It's actually fishing season right now.
Yeah.
But not so much for commercial. It's a large government presence there. It was established as a new territory in 1999. It was established as a new territory. So it's big government, big bureaucracy, but there's lots of a nice art scene, and there's mining is something that people comes up and goes and comes and goes a little bit. I think similar to Australia. So it's the industry that we can never quite get going there, but it's always talked about. And but there's still strong traditional economy. There's lots of hunting and lots of fishing, and that provides millions of dollars to the whole territory in terms of what people aren't buying at stores. They're getting from the land. So that's still very strong, and the language is still quite strong there
And who
too.
are the traditional people of that region?
We are Inuit.
Formerly known as Eskimos.
Yeah. And I don't know
And
what...
are you guys Inuit?
I am.
I'm
And
non-Inuit. I'm non-Indigenous.
What percentage of Nunavut would be Inuit now? Like 80%?
80% of the territory. So there, in the entire territory, there's about 40,000 people, and 80 to 85% are Indigenous Inuit, and then 15% of are Kaluna, white folks like me.
And the language that you are performing in, that you're singing in, that I have not mangled too badly until this point, is that the first language for most people who live in that part of Canada?
Yeah.
Nancy learned English, I think, when you were 14,
Yeah, about 12.
12 or 14, and then I just learned Inuktitut.
Inuktitut.
Inuktitut is the language.
It's such a fun sounding word.
It's such a fun language. Like we have a song about it, even though it's very challenging. I'm a non-Indigenous person. We really, really encourage non-Indigenous people to engage with Indigenous languages and do their best to learn. And because you can be put in such funny situations, we have loads of funny stories. Nancy's father never spoke English, and her grandfather didn't speak English. So I would be put in these very comical situations of trying to find my way and impress my in-laws. And it can be a really fun thing to do. So I learned in kind of the last 7 or 8 years to kind of increase fluency.
So you wouldn't have been speaking it as a
You would grow up
fella.
Grow up kind of with a few slang words here and there, and we would get it just from growing up with our friends, but it wasn't any level of fluency. And then Nancy's dad was a hunter too, so I always say he had lots of rifles, and that was a very strong impetus to kind of improve my skills.
And Nancy, what is Andrew's language like? Does he sound like a native speaker now?
Good question.
He is actually really good at pronouncing, and he's pretty fluent in my opinion, and he tries to say that he's not, but he conversed with my late father pretty well, and like he talks to people back home who are unilingual Inuktitut speakers, and yeah.
The elders really get a kick out of me because I'm not really, like, one thing you just have to get over is just the shyness, and it's pretty intimidating and learn in any other functioning in any second language. So the elders kind of get a kick out of this tall, skinny, lanky white guy coming up and greeting them and making jokes and eating country food, or bush tucka, that's what our new word here, we learned that here. So, but we have a good time, and we encourage lots of other people to do it too, because it can be so intimidating, but it's actually quite fun to do.
Well, it was intimidating when I saw the names of the songs that I was going to play for everyone this evening. Namalik Maksimavunga. I have written it down phonetically for myself so that I sound probably a little bit more practiced than I am. On 105.7 ABC Darwin, 783 ABC Alice Springs. You're hearing from Andrew Morrison and Nancy Mike from the Jerry Cans. They're from, hometown again? Iqaluit in the Arctic region of Canada. They've just performed at Womadelaide, on their way to Wadair at the moment before a performance in Darwin this weekend. You've just been in Uluru, spending some time there. What was that experience like over the last couple of days, Nancy?
It was amazing. The landscape is beautiful, of course, but meeting the people there was one of the most heartfelt things that I've ever done in my life, just because there's so many similarities between Anangu people and Inuit, and it was just really, really nice to meet people from there and just kind of, be around them and get, talk to people there, and especially the young people. I felt very much at home, because as a young person being Inuktitut speaker or English as a second language, it was always tough for me to kind of, even to be in school with all white teachers was my experience, and it was exactly the same in Uluru, and just I don't know, I can't even describe it, but it's like you get hit with that feeling again, and you feel for these kids, and my wish is for them to be learning and be educated in their own language, and it's just like I don't know, I want to educate more people about them, or about Indigenous people in general, just so that they can get some more support in speaking their own language.
And you're heading out to Wada this afternoon, a different part of the Northern Territory. What are you doing out there? You're heading out there with the Jimmy Little Foundation?
Yeah, we're going to be doing some, from what I understand, school finishes tomorrow. And so we're going to be performing at an assembly or the end of the semester or festivities there. And then we'll be doing a community concert. And we love to just hang out. We love to drink tea, drink coffee with people from the town, share stories. It's really, really quite fascinating how similar the experience in Australia is to Canada in terms of Indigenous communities, but also the history of colonization is so similar. There's lots of great conversations we've had so far, and we've been really learned so much here, and also we'll be bringing that back to Canada and kind of reflecting on it. So it's been an indescribable experience in some ways.
Nancy, you're a throat singer.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean, and where does that tradition come from?
Throat singing is kind of a Inuit way of singing, and you use your throat, your voice, your breathing to make different sounds, and the sounds imitate like the sounds of nature, such as birds and wind and the river, things like that. But it's an old tradition amongst Inuit, and it was done mostly by women because men were out hunting and women stayed home. And it's a friendly competition between two women where you create sounds overlapping each other a little bit, and whoever laughs first is usually the one out. Or so yeah, it's a friendly competition.
You should do a bit.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah. That's a little bit.
Wow, that's really cool. And so what sounds are you imitating there?
That one is called geese, so Canadian geese. And if you do it with two people, it sounds a bit more like geese, but yeah.
Do you want to try and learn?
Yeah, sure. What do I need to do? It's a very different vocalization to what we'd be used to singing or talking, obviously.
If you can just go E, and make that more of a voice. E.
Oh, I can't even sing. This is a terrible idea.
And then
I can do that bit.
there you go. That's perfect.
That was awesome.
And I lose. I love
You're hired. You're coming with us to Wada.
Oh, I'd love to. It's such a wonderful thing to hear about the music that you guys make and the part of the world that you're from, so many miles away from where we are here in the Northern Territory. I do have another track to play which I haven't written down a phonetic pronunciation for, so I might have to get one of you guys to introduce that for me in just a moment. But before we get there, I am just interested, obviously the throat singing is part of the music that you make. Who else were your musical influences growing up in this really remote region of the Arctic? Were there trailblazers that you looked to? Who led the path for you musically?
Very much so. I think that some people say that Iqaluit is kind of the New York City of the territory we live in, because there's people coming up from the south. There's also strong traditional music culture there, and we're kind of a reflection of that, trying to balance the southern influences with kind of the traditional ways of doing things. So we love Johnny Cash. We had a great conversation about him. In some houses they're very religious and they have a picture of Jesus and then an even bigger picture of Johnny Cash right beside. Johnny Cash was huge. There's lots of traditional bands, Uvagut bands, Simeoniki, Nainak. We got into punk music a little bit. The Pogues and the Clash were big influences, but then we kind of messed around with throat singing, and it's worked out pretty.
And what about for you, Nancy, and your family with non-English speaking parents?
In the northern Canada, generally, when the whalers came up north way back in the 1800s, they brought with them the accordion and the fiddle. So a lot of the music, or a lot of what people enjoy listening to, is kind of like Celtic music. And so we kind of integrated that into our music as well. But along with throat singing, I traveled around the world, like with another throat singing partner, and so that's what I did before I joined the band. And but I really enjoyed performing throat singing, and so we tried to integrate it into modern music, and it's like people seem to really like it, so we continued on with that, and yeah.
It's a really interesting mashup of musical genres, and I know it's going to be a great gig at the Railway Club on Saturday night. Can one of you please introduce I don't know how to say it at all. Oh, wow. What does that mean?
It means I'm only human, kind of like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we got it from a song of an older couple who, the man actually just passed away about a month ago, so we always trying to honor the music that's kind of been written before us, but it just means I'm only human.
Andrew and Nancy from the Jerry Cans. Oh, where does the name come from?
Where we live, it's we love to go out on the land, and sort of one of the most healthy activities you can do up north is going on the land, because it means you're going to spend time with your family, you're going out hunting or fishing, and jerry cans are a big part of that, because that's what we carry our gasoline in. So you're filling up your boat or you're filling up your skidoos, so it's kind of a metaphor for a way of life, freedom, going out on the land and taking care of your mental health. And I think that's something that we encourage all communities to do, so that's where it comes from.
And something that I think we can relate to here in the wide open, vast spaces of the Northern Territory. What an absolute delight to meet you guys and learn a little bit more about where you're from and where the music that you make comes from. Thank you so much.
Thank you.